Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Cleveland, and special warm welcome and thank you to Linking Legacies for the beautiful music this morning. My name is Margaret Nash. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm happy to be the worship associate this morning. We acknowledge that we are gathering on the original lands of the Erie and of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, also known as the Three Fires Council. Excuse me. We make this acknowledgement not so that we can just check a box, done, but because it reminds us of the need to learn more about these histories, to care for the land that we inhabit, and to show respect to the diverse peoples and cultures who preceded us, as well as those who gather here now. Because of our commitment to this as a process, the congregation is building a relationship with the Lake Erie Native American Council. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't subscribe to a set of dogmas or creeds. Each person is free to hold their own beliefs about such things as whether or not there is a deity and what that might mean for us. What unites us is our dedication to leading lives of justice, love, learning, and hope. We especially welcome any guests who are with us for the first time, either in person or online. If you are interested in more information, please fill out one of the guest cards in the pew rack in front of you, which you can place in the offering plate when it comes around later, or visit our website at uucleveland.org. We are about to enter sacred space, so this is a time to make sure your phones and other devices are in silent mode. As it's time to light our chalice, please join me in reading the words of our congregational covenant, which is printed on the yellow cards in the pew racks. We cultivate trust with one another by celebrating differences, honoring boundaries, and offering compassion and care. We listen to each other deeply with curiosity and wonder. We speak for ourselves without need to defend ourselves or persuade each other. We create safe and brave space for healthy conflict, creativity, and fun. We reconcile through forgiving and making amends when we hurt one another.
Good morning. I'm the Reverend Randy Partain. My pronouns are they, them, and I am delighted to be with you in worship today, whether you are here in person or joining us online. Shauna Nyquist said, "True hospitality and inclusion is when someone leaves your home feeling better about themselves, not better about you." And so I hope that we can make that effort today for people who are with us to leave feeling better about themselves and not just better about us. And so we'll take a moment to enter into that space together and let one another know not only that we are welcome, but that it matters that we're here. So if you see a face you don't recognize around you, I invite you to make a special effort to let them know they're welcome. And then once we greet one another, we're going to sing together. And I didn't write the number down, so you're going to find out in a second what that is. Oh, it's in the order of service. Y'all are good. We bring a lot into this space with us, and so each week we take time to acknowledge that. Sometimes we take a lot of time to acknowledge that, but it's important that we do so as evidenced by the number of you that come forward and put stones in the water. And so if you are with us online and you want people to know about any joys or concerns that you are experiencing in this moment, you can put them in the comments below the video. If you're here in person, there's a book where you can share some of those important things. And I will place a stone today of care and concern for our child care person, Ina, who is away today. We just wish her health and safety and looking forward to seeing her again next week. And Lisa Van Cleef is in the hospital, scheduled to have hips replaced tomorrow. We are hopeful that this surgery will bring some pain relief and improved mobility, And we also are hopeful that a new cancer treatment she just started will be effective. So lots of hope and care for Lisa. What else would you like to acknowledge? I invite you to come forward and place a stone in the water to symbolize any joys or concerns you carry with you today.
I've struggled and toiled in the sun, with hope that the dawn of tomorrow would break on a work that is done. My Master has pointed the way. He taught me in prayer to say, this day and our daily bread. I hunger, yet I shall be fed. My feet, they are wounded and dragging. My body tortured with pain. My heart, it is shattered and flagging. What manner of heaven again? Of happiness once I have tasted, if only an instant it paused. Though brief was the hour that I wasted, forever the woe that it caused. I'm tired and want to go home. My mother and sister are there. They're waiting for me to come, where mansions are bright and fair.
Thank you, Chris, Matthew, Diana. A stone of gratitude for the beautiful music shared with us this morning. And a stone to represent those joys or concerns shared online today. And a stone of connection and care for all of us who don't quite know how to name what it is that we bring into this place, but who know that it's something, and we acknowledge it. May we tend these cares and concerns as if they are our own, because they are ours now. And we hope that in lifting up and sharing our joys, they become magnified, and that in sharing our burdens, they become lessened. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Jenny Papp. I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development in this congregation, whether you like it or not. So, I have a story for you this morning. This story, as I have learned it, is written by Chris Bice. Most of it is probably Chris Bice's invention, but I believe that back somewhere he heard a story that had some origin on the African continent. So, once upon a time, there was a village with a road that went straight down the middle. And one day, something strange and wonderful happened. God walked down the road, and they were beautiful. They wore a long, flowing robe, and on top of their head was just a wonderful hat. God paused occasionally to chat with the people that were sitting on the sidewalk, or to answer the curious questions of the children, or to pet the head of a dog that nosed at their hand. And all the people stopped to stare at God as God walked down through the village. And they kept staring until God disappeared into the distance. Wow, God sure was beautiful, said one person. And what a beautiful purple hat they had on. Oh yes, God was beautiful. But that was a lovely red hat that God was wearing. It's not purple. Oh no, you are wrong. It was purple. Oh no, you are wrong. It was red. I don't know. Okay. You'll have to tell them. And as they argued, others were joining, just like that. Soon the whole village was arguing. Oh, goodness. All the people on one side of the road were certain that God was wearing a purple hat. Purple. People got mad. All these people on this side were certain God was wearing a red hat. Go Team Red. They were so mad, screaming and yelling. They decided they were going to build a wall straight down the middle of the road. So they did. They cooperated wonderfully on this wall. They built this wall right down the middle of the road. And all the people on this side built an amazing temple and worshiped the God that wore a purple hat. And the people on this side, they built a tabernacle to the God with the red hat. And they continued to worship. And many years passed. Those people were still enemies. Then one day, God came strolling through the village again, right on top of the wall. Wandered, balancing right down the middle on top of that wall. And all the people ran up to God and said, God, we're so glad you're here. We need you to settle our argument. Yes, the people on one side of the street say that when you came here and visited us last time, that you were wearing a purple hat. But we know better. It was a red hat. So God, what color was your hat? Tell us. Tell us. I think I remember walking through your village a few years ago. I remember lots of really lovely conversations with people as I came through. And your children here are so curious. And I do remember that pup with the softest ears, like silk. I don't remember what hat I was wearing. They thought a little bit. They could see how important this was to the people. I think it's possible that day I may have been wearing my hat that's purple on one side and red on the other. Some children started laughing because they'd kind of grown up in this world. And they started laughing. And pretty soon some more kids started laughing. Pretty soon, a little humility kicked in. A few other people started laughing. Pretty soon, everybody was laughing uproariously. And the more laughter that rumbled and rumbled through, the wall began to crumble down. These people realized how foolish they had been. For many years after that, the people told the story of God's hat and how laughter and humility had torn down the wall that divided them. Thank you for sharing that story with me today.
Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
Today's collection plate will be shared with the Music Settlement, which was forged in 1912 out of the Settlement House movement as a way to welcome immigrants to Cleveland and unite them through the common language of music. Today, the Music Settlement serves thousands of students every year with free and low-cost instruction, early childhood curriculum, and innovative music therapy, helping communities learn, create, celebrate, and heal. One example of a student is Noah Horowitz, whose mother enrolled him in a theory class at TMS when he was in the first grade. His mother wrote, "We couldn't afford a piano. That's why he was in the theory class." But economic poverty turned into musical abundance with the Music Settlement. Noah went on to graduate from the NYU film scoring program, and today his music has been heard at film festivals around the world. Please support TMS. Place your offering, cash or check made payable to UUCC, in the collection plate as it is passed. Or you may contribute via Cash App to $UUCC 44122. Please use the memo line to indicate today's date and our plate recipient, the Music Settlement.
ask you this, which way to go? I ask you this, which sin to bear, which crown to put upon my head. I do not know. Which way to go? I ask you this, which sin to bear, which crown to put upon my head. I do not know, Lord God. I do not know.
I might be too choked up from that to read this. But our meditation today is an excerpt from The Resilience Myth by Soraya Shamali. We live with the consequences of not reconciling ourselves to hard truths. We have few, if any, formal mechanisms for talking with nuance and complexity about identity, history, meaning, and how we come together to envision and build new futures. Part of the problem is simply shame. Emotional discomfort, shame, and cognitive dissonance often result from contemplating what it means to be a person on the wrong side of an equation, associated by identity and privilege with the perpetration of harm. The traumatizing histories and stories that help some communities heal might threaten your sense of being a good person or call the legitimacy of your abilities, entitlements, and successes into question. Belonging and collective pride also suffer, provoking self-defensiveness and the disorientation that can come with stigmatization. The point, in terms of trauma and resilience and change, is not to focus on injury and victimhood as ends in themselves. Rather, it is to establish a starting point for broader understanding and the formulation of new social alliances and political configurations. When we tell stories, especially traumatic ones drawn from the past, we move both our suffering and our knowledge from the realm of individual psychology to the realm of social and political discourse. When we listen to and acknowledge people, we build intergroup understanding, providing a resilience-building resource available to even more people and communities. The process itself is the shared story necessary for building a new society. It can only really work, though, if we are able to move beyond the stark and oversimplifying binary of victims and perpetrators. While collective trauma can harden intergroup conflict over generations, it can also effectively result in the same groups reaching agreement to build more peaceful, safe, and free futures.
As a lover of music, it occurs to me that it is a strange thing that Beethoven was conducting brand new music that he had composed, and Haydn was writing music constantly because that's what he was paid to do. And sometimes because he was paid to do it, he could sneak in some kind of justice message in the things that he was writing. But then we kept doing that music and holding that up as the standard, and we lose some of the amazing music that is of our own time. Sometimes we have to wait for someone to die before we honor their legacy and hear their music fully. So I hope that we will continue to hear more and more of the music of our space and time and the people in our communities, and honor the beauty and the artistry of that gift. Thank you for bringing that gift to our doorsteps. I hope that we receive it, but also respond to it by seeking it out and not waiting for it to just be brought to us. I have a friend, this is a hard left, sorry. I have a friend who's inheriting a house. Not inheriting it yet, but is going to inherit a house. My friend does not particularly want this house. My friend's father is not in great relationship with this friend of mine. They have a strained relationship, and my friend is not necessarily proud of how his father got the money to purchase this house. And so really, at a certain level, doesn't want to have anything to do with it. This inheritance has a really complicated emotional entanglement to it. And my friend could let the house go to the bank and let the bank do whatever they want to do with it and just be completely rid of it. It could be no longer my friend's problem. And at the same time, my friend knows that if this house were to sell, it would pay for a college education for my friend's daughter. It would pay for my friend to be able to do some things in the world that reflect their values in a more tangible way. So this inheritance could be a gift. So my friend is tending this house in the meantime, because even though this relationship with my friend's father is strained and the house is not something that my friend wants, there's something in this inheritance that can be used for good. We are living in anxious times. I don't need to say that, but I'll say it out loud just because we seem afraid to say it a little bit sometimes. It's tempting for people to gather into tribes, circle the wagons, batten down the hatches, whatever we do to stay safe where we are and to keep dangerous people out. And everybody looks dangerous in anxious times. And I could say to a lot of people in this room, you're probably going to be fine. The system is designed for a lot of people in this room. We are part of a legacy of people who created structures with flawed perspectives, sometimes with malicious intent, but more often just an ignorant assumption that their experience was universal and that their opinions were better than other people's. And that legacy means that some people, especially if you are white, heteronormative, cisgender male, you don't have to worry about your place in things. Our society has literally been crafted for your benefit. Not by you sitting here. Don't hear me blaming anybody here for this. You didn't do it. I'm not trying to make you feel ashamed of anything. I'm just reminding you that you might have something that other people don't. Some of us have an inheritance, even if we aren't proud of where it came from, that could be a gift. It isn't about whether you're a victim or a perpetrator. It's about whose well-being is most in need of tending. And there are people who want to blame the most marginalized and oppressed for the conditions of our society. It can't possibly be predatory capitalism. It can't possibly be people wanting to control other people's bodies. It must be trans people. They are obviously the reasons that our country is in the state that it's in. It must be the women who want bodily autonomy. They are obviously the problem. It must be people of color or people who speak something other than American English as a first language. Let us justify our oppression by pretending that we are better than other people and that we know best. And I know that some people here today are in a category of oppressed, if not multiple categories of oppressed. When we aren't completely exhausted by just living in a society that holds us as less than fully worthy, we can still ask, who else around me is in need of care? Who else around me is oppressed in a way that I may or may not even understand? All of us can probably extend care in a meaningful way to someone in need of our tending. And when we do that, we build solidarity and connection. And I imagine there could be people in this room who are saying, things are not really so bad. Folks are exaggerating a lot these days. I'm not experiencing that level of threat. So other people must be imagining things. Maybe they are under-medicated or over-medicated. We've come a long way in the past couple of decades, after all. People don't have to worry so much. And I'm still grateful that we have a full class for the trans justice and safety adult religious education sessions over the next few weeks. No cisgender men in that class. Maybe you can't be at every session. I know you're caring for people in other ways. Again, I'm not shaming, I'm just observing. My invitation to all of us when we avoid some opportunities to learn about justice and welcome and safety for others is that we make sure that what seem like good reasons are not that we think we already know all we need to know about other people's experiences, or that we think that other people don't need our solidarity with them, or some other reason that we excuse ignoring the needs of some people in our community. Because we all need one another. And we all need one another to mean something by inclusion. I was asked recently by a member of our community, not a member of our congregation, but of our larger community, why I wasn't at a protest. And I said I didn't know the safety plan, I didn't know the people who were organizing it, and I have to be concerned for my own safety at some of these events. And they said, you don't have anything to worry about. All you do is show up in a stole and a collar and you're good. And I said, you know, I have some Unitarian Universalist colleagues, some trans ministers and some trans-affirming ministers in UU world who are getting death threats around this time. I'm not, but some of my colleagues are. And they said, well, yeah, but you don't have to be so obvious about it. You can just wear pants and a shirt and just be unnoticeable, be invisible. And I think, is that the point of justice, to show up and be invisible? Is that our vision of inclusion? Show up and pretend to be an acceptable, unmarginalized identity so that you're safe and have acceptability. Come and be just like us, and don't stand out, and then you'll be safe. Can we not name that as another kind of oppression? Russell Lehman said, inclusion isn't about being invited to sit at someone else's table. It's about building a new table together where each person's voice and presence matter equally. The act of inviting often implies a subtle power dynamic, as if someone is granting permission to belong. But true belonging isn't something that can be granted. It's something that should emerge naturally from a shared understanding and mutual respect. So really, Russell Lehman is asking, are we willing to listen to the stories and experiences of those who are most at risk and to tend to their legacies? We've inherited a legacy, but people of color have legacies too, multiple, diverse legacies. Trans people have legacies. They go back thousands of years. Everyone that we can name in a marginalized community has a legacy that is worthy of being carried forward as well. Are we willing to make sacrifices of our own comfort and maybe a little bit of our power in order to live into the world that our values invite us to envision? We say transformation is a value in this new rubric that we've adopted. And we say that transformation means adapting to the changing world. That could be a little misleading. It doesn't mean accepting what the current administration values over our own integrity. We adapt to the changing world by adapting to what the world needs now as opposed to what it may have needed in the past. We adapt to the changing world by recognizing what the world responds to. We don't adjust what we value like chameleons just trying to blend in and hide from predators. When our vision doesn't take root in the way that we hope it does, we adapt to how we pursue it, how we form collaborations, connections, how we collectively grow spiritually and ethically so that we can find new ways to move toward wholeness and well-being. We say that all beings are sacred. Even though we're diverse in culture and experience and theology, we affirm that we can create space for everyone's culture and experience and theology and learn from one another when we prioritize love and curiosity and respect over our fear about who's right or wrong. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. That means we actively nourish hope in our lives so that we can freely and compassionately share our faith and our presence and our resources, not just with people like us, whatever that means, but with the people who are most in need of our presence and our bearing witness and our spiritual and emotional and social and, yes, financial resources. We are part of an interdependent web of existence. And so we covenant to protect Earth and all beings from exploitation through relationships of repair and mutuality. Our vision of justice is a vision of everyone thriving together. Not giving up a seat at the table, but building a new table. Dismantling systemic oppression, that's active. We're doing something. We're not just shaking our head in dismay or posting angry stuff on social media. We're doing something to take it apart and to build something better, to build a new way of thriving together. Do we even believe that that's possible? Or have we let ourselves be convinced that that is an unreasonable vision of justice? Is that someone else's legacy to live into, maybe? UU minister and Puerto Rican New Yorker, Reverend Marta Valentin, says, "It's time to throw out our exceptional identity and humble ourselves. We have always done good in the world. It's in our DNA. The question is, are we ready to do better for our own people? Because the world includes every person in our faith, many of whom have been microaggressioned right out the door. It is the silent revolving door that many do not want to acknowledge. It's time to look ourselves not just in our faces, but in our souls and ask ourselves, who are we really? Which Unitarian Universalism are we taking into the future? And if we have no intention of taking it to the promised land, then let's just acknowledge that. But let's Marie Kondo our unfaithful practices and release what no longer serves us and make room for what will. How can we save the world if we can't save ourselves?" And she adds, "Remember, I say this because I love you and I need you to survive." We have inherited a legacy. We are connected backward to all of the people who built the systems that frame our existence. And we can keep that legacy going without much effort, just through inertia. There are some people actively working to make sure that's the only legacy that's acknowledged. We're also connected forward, though. We're connected to all the people who will inherit the legacies that we foster and nurture. If we want to, we can pass on legacies of connection and wholeness and interdependence and hope. But that will most likely require of us that we work to stop seeing people as others and to stop protecting ourselves from being blamed for something. to listen deeply to the stories of other people who are at risk, even if we don't perceive the riskiness of their existence the way that they do, to get past the victim-perpetrator stigmas and wonder what new collective stories we can tell. Rather than asking, "What are you blaming me for?" we might ask, "What do you most need from me?" Rather than being afraid of someone holding us responsible, we might seek ways to be responsive to the needs and fears of the world around us. Rather than protecting our egos, we might prioritize protecting the people whose lives are increasingly imperiled by the decisions of people in power. Rather than rushing to fill our lives with things that make us feel useful, we might stop and take time to be present with the people who truly need to be seen and witnessed and acknowledged as fully worthy human beings. I know the world is a lot right now. And also, inclusion is not building our own little fortress from the storm and welcoming whatever stragglers show up seeking shelter in our space. Inclusion is not inviting people to come be where we are and be like us so that they can be safe and accepted. Inclusion is looking around at the world, taking notice of who needs safety and belonging and connection, and saying, "We're building a spiritual home, and it would be amazing if you wanted to co-create it with us. Bring all of who you are with full authenticity, and let me learn from that, because I don't know everything, and I certainly don't know everything about you." That's inclusion. We have inherited something, and we can use that gift to source a nourishing legacy that flows from our deepest values. May we be so bold. Amen, and blessed be. We're going to sing, and I didn't write the number down for this one either. Which is it? It's hymn number 299 in the gray hymnal. I invite us to rise in body or spirit as we join our voices together. May I translate briefly those poetic words? We have love, and there is love available to us, and it is infinite. It's not like pie. It's not going to be scarce. We can create opportunities to give and receive love as broadly as we choose. And that is our calling. And if we don't do that, we thirst. So may we create opportunities to be connected with this beautiful interconnected web of humanity fearlessly, boldly, lovingly, and create the community that flows from that. Go with peace and courage. Amen.
Please join me in the reading for extinguishing the chalice, which is printed on the yellow cards in the pew racks. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.